ever like wanted to start like a new fish tank aquarium hobby, right? You wanted to put something nice in your living room or your bedroom or somewhere nice in the house so that people can look and go, wow, that looks really cool, right? You like the tranquility and you're looking to get into the fish hobby, right? The aquarium hobby. Well, a lot of people have a problem because they see, like, they go to the store or they go to the aquarium or the pet store and they see like these cool tanks, right? But they see freshwater and saltwater tanks, right? And they don't know which ones to get, right? They love the beautifulness, like the beauty of having a saltwater tank, but then they see like the whole store have all these amazing like freshwater fish and they're with their kids. Well, I'm gonna spell out the differences between what a saltwater tank is and what a freshwater tank is, and which one would be best for you, which one you would like better. Okay, so before we head on, please like and subscribe right now and stay till the end of the video because there is some cool more information that you do not want to miss. So once again, like, subscribe, and hit the bell button because you will be helping us out a great deal to get us into that algorithm inside YouTube and get us on the suggestion box. So thank you very much. And now for the rest of the video. So we're going to go over the advantages and disadvantages of each one. And I'm sure in this video you will find like that a lot of things that you were told are actually not true, right? Things that you never knew that I'm going to do with my experience. Now, I just want to make sure, I want to let you know that I am not a professional in the aquarium hobby. I used to do it a long time ago, and I used to work in a pet store, and I mastered it. I've owned freshwater tanks, saltwater tanks, coral tanks, reef tanks. I've done it all. So I do have a little knowledge on it, but this is my opinion basically here. So you can go by what I say. If you want to seek someone else's opinion, go ahead and do that too. So what's the difference? Like, what tank should you get? Well, I'm going to spell out the different types of advantages you get. So let's start off, right? Let's start off with the basics, right? What everybody usually has, the most common one, and that's freshwater tanks, right? Now, in freshwater tanks, you have a few different types of aquariums, right? You have cold water aquariums, freshwater ponds, and tropical aquariums. So what are the advantages of having one of these type of freshwater aquariums, right? Well, number one, it's cheaper fish, mostly ranging from about 99 cents to about $55. Not super expensive, right? So it's manageable, right? Very cheap and affordable. Now, every pet store you go to, they always have freshwater fish, right? They have 10, 20 tanks on the wall. They always have tropical fish, goldfish, all these different types of fish. They have regular freshwater supplies like gravel, water heaters, filters, all different stuff, plants, and all these cool little type of, trinkets for your fish tank. So, and decorations. They have a lot of variety. So you get a huge amount of stuff to pick from with freshwater, and it's not hard to find. Mostly every pet store you walk into, even Walmart and like Target, I think, even has stuff for fish tanks. What else? So freshwater tanks are a great starter hobby, right, for kids and beginners. If you have a little kid, you can get a goldfish bowl, you get a small little tank, small little freshwater tank for the kids with a little heater and a filter to basically put, small little fish in there that they like to see, and stuff like all different types of fish, and that you have to offer inside the pet store. So it's definitely good for kids and beginners who want to just jump into the hobby. I started off with the freshwater tank. My father did before me, and a lot of different people have. So it's an awesome thing to do if you're just starting into it. Easy to understand, and it's not a lot of basically mind control, like trying to figure things out. It's very, very simple and easy to do. Now, testing water and like maintaining a good biosystem for a freshwater tank is pretty simple. It's pretty standard. They have the easy test strips where you can test for pH, water hardness, and basically any other things like nitrates and stuff like that, where you can just test the water to make sure everything is fine, right? They come with a lot of different solutions to treat the water in case there's like parasites or any type of diseases. So you get a lot of different things to choose from. Another thing is, of course, like I was saying before, you have plenty of different kinds of fish, right, in the pet store. And mostly every pet store you go to is going to have tropical fish in it. These small fish, goldfish, all these little different types of freshwater fish that you always see when you see it on the wall there. So, yeah, it's easy to find. You have plenty of different kinds, all different types of fish. And it's something that you never have to worry. The fish are always going to be there when you want to go and pick up new fish for your tank. So, it's something cool. Now, what kind of different types of fish do you have for freshwater tanks, right? So now you got the small bowl and the tank fish like betas and designer goldfish. So you go to the store, you get the little bowl with the fish in it. That's the standard thing. That's when I was a kid. That's what the first fish I got. Usually that's the first fish. Usually you get kids. So that's like the first thing to introduce them into like having a fish. Then you have like the large live eating fish like Oscars and Pacus. Those often require big tanks. So I don't recommend those for beginners, but if you're, been around for a while and you want to move up and you want to get anything from like a 45, 55 gallon and up higher tank, then those are good for those types of tanks. So you can get large. Those are the types of freshwater fish. Large live eating fish, where you feed them goldfish and live food. And then also you have the aggressive colorful fish like African cichlids. Amazing fish. They come in so many different colors, varieties, but very aggressive. You can only keep them by themselves, but that's another different type of freshwater fish. They're more like brackish. They come from brackish waters, but very, very minimal salt in the water. So, and you have to put the pH high for them. So, but yeah, they're considered a freshwater fish. So you're going to see those a majority of the time when you go to the pet store. You're going to see African cichlids. I recommend those if you want to have a very, very colorful freshwater tank, because they come in so many different colors, which is really awesome. Now, next you have the large peaceful fish like angelfish and discus fish, and they get pretty big if you have a decent sized tank. Angelfish also come small sizes too, but they can get pretty big ones, and you can put the discus together. Large parrot, large red devils, the hybrid fish. I think they're like a cross between parrotfish, but yeah, they have all different big ones. They're very majestic. You can get live plants and put them in there. I recommend those for more of the advanced people who have freshwater tanks for a while. And then you have the cool stuff, which I think is pretty awesome, which is the cold water pond fish, like koi fish, large goldfish that can live in ponds. You can build like a 3 to 4 foot pond in your yard or in front house, and you can actually have them in there and live all year round, even in cold temperatures. Even if like the top of the lake freezes up, they can go down to the bottom and survive all year round. So they're like an all year round fish, cold water fish like that. So there's many different things you have with freshwater aquariums, which is awesome, which you can work with, right? And they're not too hard. Now let's go into the negatives about having a freshwater aquarium, right? Because I think a lot of people don't go over these, and these are basically what I go through. Other people can say different things on it, but this is basically what I've experienced with having freshwater tanks and freshwater aquariums. Number one is, to me, the fish are not as sturdy as a saltwater fish. So they don't have large lifespans. I think a betta can live up to like 5 years. But there's other fish that don't last too long. I mean, I've never had a fish last me longer than about 2 years. I had barbs. I've had all different types of fish, angelfish, red-tailed black sharks, all different types, feeder fish. I think the only one probably that's the most sturdiest are sort of the bottom feeders in freshwater tanks. So plecos, cory cats, those are the ones that, to me, those will last in years, and they're extremely sturdy fish. The bottom feeders in freshwater. So catfish, those type of fish, I think probably are the best if you want sort of a fish for longevity. Then you have the water, right? The water does get dirty quicker. You have to do a lot more water changes often. So yeah, it's something to do with the gravel. I definitely prefer sand over gravel. Gravel just traps the dirt and garbage inside, and it's just so much easier with sand. The dirt does stay on the top of the sand where you can easily siphon it out of your tank. So yes, they do get freshwater tanks. They do get much, much more dirty than saltwater aquariums. So yeah, try to stay away from gravel. I recommend you use sand. It's just my recommendation. And then honestly, you do have some pretty varieties of fish in freshwater tanks, but they are not as colorful or as exciting as saltwater fish. So yeah, I would say more, the freshwater for young kids, the freshwater aquariums, because you do have cool colors and different types of fish, which is pretty cool. You have aggressive fish and you have passive fish. You have just regular types of fish running around and swimming around in your inside your tank. But yeah, they're not as exciting or as colorful as saltwater fish. So yeah, more novice. I recommend the freshwater tank. But I mean, it depends on your type. Some people love the freshwater fish and the colors and the types of different fish inside of freshwater tanks than do in saltwater. So it's your preference. It's more like what you like. So now we're going over to what is saltwater, right? And if you would think about getting saltwater aquarium. So there are two types of saltwater aquariums. You have a reef and live rock tank, and you have a standard saltwater tank. It is not good to mix fish and different types of sea creatures in mixing them that's supposed to go in a reef tank and mixing them in a standard saltwater tank, doing vice versa. It's not good. You have to know which fish to put in with each tank. So it's basically, those are the two standard tanks: reef tank and a standard saltwater tank. And in saltwater, the advantages are the fish are much more pretty. They come in more colors, more varieties, more beautiful colors, just all different types of things. You have a variety of sea creatures, not just fish. You have shrimp, you have crab, you have eels, you have sharks, you have all octopus, right? You have all these different creatures, seahorses, anemones, clownfish. I could keep going, right? Flounder, so many different types of organisms and sea creatures that you have in a saltwater tank, which is pretty cool, right? And also, the fish I find to be more sturdier, and they last much longer, live longer in saltwater tanks. I've had maybe 1 or 2 fish die that I've had in saltwater tanks, and most of them were like the small damsels, that usually people get. They're like, at my time, they were about $20 each. I think now they're way more, but majority of the fish I've had have just lasted very long. Very, very sturdy fish, much more sturdier than freshwater fish. Tanks in saltwater tanks, they do get fewer water changes and cleaner than freshwater tanks once the biosystem is established, right? So once you get that bio going, all the bacteria in there is perfect. The water's nice and clear. The fish are doing great. The pH is great. Everything is good. Nitrates are down. Everything is lovely in your tank. Once that biological system is established, it's very, very less water changes. And yes, it does matter on the size of your tank. Larger tanks need less water changes. Smaller tanks need more water changes. But with freshwater tanks, you definitely need a lot more water changes, and the water does get extremely dirty. No matter how great you have your biosystem going in freshwater, it does get dirty a lot. So more cleaning in freshwater than you do in saltwater once both tanks are, once your saltwater tank is established. And then you have live rocks and coral, which is awesome, of course. Live rocks, the rocks will have like organisms on it. Coral, live coral, that's actually live. Dead coral. Just so many cool different live decorations that you could put. You have live plants. You have live plants and also in freshwater too, which is pretty awesome. But you have like all these cool things that you can actually add to saltwater. But definitely the live stuff is really cool looking when you add it to the water, and it actually helps with the environment. And then there's one more thing. Despite what people are telling you, you can have a small saltwater tank. That's right. Yes, of course, it will require more water changes, more monitoring, and more testing. But yes, you can. You don't need a large tank to have saltwater. I think a lot of people see these huge tanks and they're nervous about, oh my gosh, I get to spend all this money on this 100-gallon tank just to have saltwater fish. No, you don't really. I mean, you can go down to 10 gallons. You can even go down to 5-gallon tank with a saltwater tank. So, yeah, that's what I've experienced. I'm not saying there might be people that dispute that, but I definitely find that it doesn't really matter what size tank you need. You can do anything in the saltwater as long as you do it right, as long as you maintain that tank the right way. It doesn't matter on the size of the tank. Of course, if you do use a small tank, use a fish that doesn't grow big. Use a smaller fish like damsels, things that don't get that big. So you can, it'd be much more fair to the fish, right? And like I said before, much less testing than freshwater tanks. So water's less testing. Only thing you have to do is make sure that you keep those salt levels at the right levels for the fish. So depending on the type of tank it is, I think most of the salt levels, just as long as you keep it the same, you buy the artificial salt from the pet store and you're able to, maintain the salt levels in that tank, and you should be good. I mean, that's all you really need to do. You do have to test it like the other tanks, but it's once that tank is established, man, salt water almost runs itself. Okay, so what are the negatives finally? What finally are the negatives to having a saltwater tank? So not too many, but they're pretty big. They're pretty big negatives. So what is it? Okay, the number one thing that is a negative when you're getting a saltwater tank is fish are way more expensive. And overall, setting up a saltwater tank is much more money than a freshwater tank. Now, by how much? I don't know. Maybe not by a lot. But the fish alone is what will cost you, is what will basically hit you in the bank, is the fish. The fish are expensive. They can go up to like $500 fish. Some fish is up to $1,000. So, but yeah, very, very, very much more expensive to maintain a freshwater tank. So prepared to spend money if you do. But not to say that freshwater tanks are not expensive either. For all the equipment you need, you can wind up spending a pretty chunk of change walking out buying a freshwater tank. So, but the fish alone on a saltwater tank is what really hits you in the pocket. Now, the second one, of course, is you got to be careful with what fish you put together in a saltwater tank, which you discussed a little before. For instance, as an example, you don't want to put a parrotfish in with a shrimp, right? A shark in with a small damsel or things like that, because they will eat the small fish. They're not supposed to go together, right? Don't put seahorses in with triggers, right? Stuff like that, because they will rip them to pieces. So you want to be careful what you put together in any tank, even freshwater. But the reason why with the saltwater is because of how expensive the fish are. You don't want to lose a like $80 shrimp, like a designer shrimp that you bought, right, because you bought a parrotfish and ate it, right? So you don't want to lose. So yes, it sort of sucks. You don't go back. You can't bring the dead fish back. They're not going to give you your money back. Once you buy that live fish, that's it. It's yours. And if it dies, too bad. They will not. You're screwed. So yeah, you want to be super careful about that. Now, next is you want to maintain the salt levels and test the water regularly. Once you have an established tank, yes, it's less testing, but since you have an expensive fish in your tank, right, you don't want them to die off, right? So you don't want to take any chances, right? So even though you don't have to do a lot of testing if you don't want to, you sort of want to stay on it anyway, just to make sure, because yes, those fish are expensive and they will die and you will lose your money. So be careful with that. And then finally, yes, the equipment is going to be a little more expensive. For instance, you're going to need better filter, something bigger, and I recommend canister filters for saltwater tanks. Just bigger, they're more powerful, and to put stuff in them. You can also use over the back filter if you want to, but I use those as secondary. I definitely recommend those as secondary filters, but use a canister filter. Try to get one of those, and that's it. Yeah, so canister filter recommendation, get one of those for really good filtration on your tank. If it's, say, I usually like to get my filter stronger than what the tank is. So if you have a 20-gallon tank, I would get a filter that runs 50 gallons, right? Or if you have a 55-gallon tank, I would get a filter that runs 100 gallons. I would always push the filter just larger than what the tank is. I would not get a 20-gallon filter for a 20-gallon tank. I just think that's that's just more work for you. You want to get a nice, good filtration in your tank. But other than that, those are really the negatives and positives of having a freshwater or a saltwater tank. I hope this helps you on your decision on which one you want to get. Once again, the freshwater tank, better for beginners, but it requires much more cleaning. It is definitely cheaper. The fish are cheaper, equipment maybe not, but it's definitely a little cheaper than saltwater. And in saltwater, much more sturdy, less water changes. Do some testing, but yes, the fish are expensive, and it is important that you make sure that they're okay. You don't want $100, $200 fish dying in your tank and losing your money. So that's about it. Thank you for listening, and I hope you got some value. Peace out.